So there's this. I put this Reddit post. It has 46,000 upvotes from the Pokemon subreddit. It's by Tarot2. It says complete list of all problems known so far in Pokemon Sword and Shield with data and or proof for each problem.
And or proof. Okay.
It is very long.
It is, yeah. It's
I guess I'll read the beginning.
It's 14 points and then like a summary and a final statement.
Each point is a paragraph long too.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read all of
Everything
this.
wrong with Sword and Shield. Hold on, I need to see for myself.
Somebody, breeze through this. Seeing as there's a lot of people that don't quite know the extent of the issues and that there's no real compilation of the problems, I feel like everyone needs a list with info and sources of each and every current problem with the games. It's a long list, but I've tried to put it all together. It's not just Dexit people. That's what they're calling this now, I think.
Yeah, and hearing that now, like now it's all making sense.
Why Dexit?
Because I saw some Brexit.
But why D?
Because it's Dex.
The Dex.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
I will post
stupid people do stupid things, man.
I will post everything that is 100% confirmed and known so far. There is potentially other problems, but this is made as a somewhat quick digest with info that has been 100% proven for anyone out of the loop that wants to know exactly what's happening with these games. All right, so everything's like a paragraph long, and I don't want to read all of this.
1, the number of usable Pokemon has been cut. Only less than half are now usable, known as Dexit. It means you won't be able to use these Pokemon in the new games, blah, 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 blah. So that's point 1. Point 2, just like the Pokemon cut, about 144 moves were removed. 99 moves excluding the Let's Go and other outlier moves. This includes extremely important and useful mainstay moves like Hidden Power, Return Frustration, and Pursuit. All right, so I guess moves were removed. Be honest, how many moves do you actually use in Pokemon?
There's a whole lot that I do not use.
Exactly. Like, this isn't Street Fighter where you have to know, like, every single move your character does in order to be top tier. You select 4 at a time.
But Will, the thing is, like, your point is exactly why they're mad. Because they use such a small pool of moves that some of the ones that they use being removed infuriates them. It's like, I have to think of new strategies now?
Yeah, oh
this
God.
Is outrageous.
What am I going to do that I can't cut now?
Do they have Hyper Beam? That's all I care about. The best move in the game, Hyper Beam. Is that
first? Yeah. Cut
is that available?
Before literally any other move.
So the fact that most Pokemon are cut, do we know for sure how many Pokemon were cut?
I think they said there is a number that they said how many.
The rumor is half.
The thing is,
last time we talked, I was saying none of this is confirmed. It's just people who have like leaked versions of the game, or people are going off of gameplay that they've seen and they're taking the Pokemon out that they haven't seen yet.
Based off the leaked versions, it looked like half the Pokemon were cut.
Okay.
It looks like a little less than half from the number I saw. Because Masuda said there's 1,000 or over 1,000. And the final total, because you have the Pokedex and then a little bit more become available. So I think the total is like 600 something.
Yeah.
In the game. So yeah, a little over half.
So, as a consensus, how do we feel about cutting out that many Pokemon? The chat seems very upset that we're like defending them for dumbing down the game.
Well, in fairness, the chat I think is assuming that we're just thinking that all of the complaints are illegitimate, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. Like when I hear that a lot of moves are being removed, for instance, between both my background with Pokemon, obviously I do a crazy Pokemon challenge every single week, and I have been for months now. So I have a lot of experience with like Pokemon, and I know from my background both with that and with strategy games, there's a lot of Pokemon that from a strategic standpoint do not need to be in the game at all. If you like Pokemon as you're breeding animals and you're having fun with your favorite ones, with your favorite designs, then I can completely understand being upset about certain things being out. Or, as some people were saying, signature moves of certain Pokemon have been removed, and there is a little bit of a problem there. However, realistically, in terms of balance, the vast majority of Pokemon have no value over other ones that you could just as easily get that are significantly better. And there are an enormous amount of moves that do not need to be in the game that are an insane barrier to entry for new players coming in trying to learn all of these insane amount of moves. Some of them are completely redundant. In fact, there's a few that literally do the same thing, if I remember right. I'm sure those have been removed. I'm not saying every Pokemon that was removed should have been removed. I'm not saying that every move that was removed should be removed. However, there are actually legitimate reasons to remove a bunch of stuff for the sake of new players not coming in and being wildly confused, while also balancing the game a lot better, because Pokemon has become wildly unbalanced. And it was never balanced in the first place, but it has gotten ridiculously unbalanced.
See, here's the thing for me. I get the super casual end of it, of wanting every Pokemon and being like, that's the one that's my favorite. I want to use that in this region. I understand that. But the hardcore fans being upset about this, it doesn't really hold water to me, because like you still get to keep all the Pokemon. You still put them in Pokemon Home or whatever. You have them. You have in your you can hold solace in the fact that your Snorlax that you had since Pokemon Red is still going to be sitting right there for when you can use them again or whatever. Even though Snorlax is in this game.
Yeah, that's what like I was trying to like, tell my friend at work, just because, and she's not upset that half the Pokemon are gone, but I said like, just because they're not in this game doesn't mean you can't use them again in the next game. It's just it gets to a point where like you can't feasibly put thousands and thousands of creatures in one game.
I think people are mostly upset that their favorite Pokemon isn't in the game. And I completely understand that. Maybe there's people out there who they're big Scyther fans, the best Pokemon in the game. They have their Scyther from Pokemon Red, and they want that to be. They brought that into every single game since then, and now all of a sudden they can't. Or I don't even know if Scythers are in the game or not.
To go a little bit off of what Will was saying is that like the whole cut, like not every like the cutting of the national decks and all that sort of stuff, to me it just felt like an inevitability. I mean, as someone that's not like a hardcore Pokemon fan, but like understanding that like generations added like hundreds and hundreds, and like it just stockpiled up into 1,000. That is so many assets, and that's so much to put into a game. And now I understand that, at least with the Game Freak lied to us. That whole thing was talking about how apparently the Switch models look exactly like the 3DS models. Which,
to me, again, doesn't really hold water. Like, we don't know that for sure, because
we're not sure, but even more so, like that takes into account it showed the wireframe, but that doesn't take into account of the texturing and
and like the animation and things like that, the rigging.
Yeah, the smaller details. It's one of the things where if they just pulled the 3DS models and said, "Oh, we built it from scratch," shame on them for lying, sure. But from my understanding of how game development works and how everything goes, it's a lot of work just beyond the wireframes. There's still so much more work that needs to go on. So maybe they did pull in the 3DS models, but that doesn't change the fact that maybe they reskinned every single model from scratch.
Yeah.
I went to Titmouse Animation once and like did like a little tour, and they were working on that show Turbo, with the snail.
Yeah.
And one of the animators was animating something, and he was. I went there with like a class, and he was showing the class like, look, there's this animation of Turbo, the snail, like going like, yay. And he's like, that clip I just took from a scene that was 2 scenes ago, and I just pasted it in here because that's efficient. The problem people might have with that is that Game Freak specifically said that they had to remake animations and stuff. But at the time, people, like that video where people were like comparing the animations and the character models to say like they're the same as previous games. In that video, they also said the Dynamax Pokemon are the same animations and the same size.
And
But then we learned about Gigantamaxing
Yeah.
after that, so we didn't even know that those are completely separate character designs.
right.
You know.
And the thing about it is people are even taking that quote and blowing it out of proportion. Because them saying we have new animations and new high quality assets and stuff like that, that doesn't say every single animation and every single asset is new. They never said that.
Yeah.
Well, the
There's
next point here,
thousands of
number
things.
3, says short game. The first streamer beat the champion at around the 14-hour mark. While he did this by skipping a fair amount of trainer battles, other streamers
That
are
sounds like
clocking
it's
in about
important.
16 to 20 hours.
Yeah, that sounds really important.
yeah.
Seems like the average will be about 18 hours to beat the game. Here's one of the blah blah blah. So basically, a speedrunner beat it in 14 hours.
Yeah, 'cause, like,
and it
I'm
looks like
reading
the
other
base
reviews.
game is 16 to 20 hours,
Like-
which I don't know about you guys, but 16 to 20 hours.
That's a pretty meaty sized game.
See, but
Pretty
this,
meaty game.
this is the thing even beyond that. Every review that I've seen, including like more on the negative side of things, they all say it's over 30. Like,
Yeah,
well
like
over 30.
IGN had
And that's
5 people
typical for-
play it, and they said it was all over 40 hours for them.
Yeah,
What's an average Pokemon game?
about 30, 40 hours.
Yeah, the originals
Unless
were like
you're
30 to
rushing.
40 hours.
Yeah.
Mhm.
MDB beats them in like 2 every week.
Dude.
But
No, I beat it in like 20 to 60 every week. That's the problem.
oh my good lord.
Like,
But this guy's trying to go on like the he's trying to skew it to the low end because he's got, you know, a vendetta against Pokemon.
Right.
But like still, like honestly, I'd rather it be 20 hours because I don't want to
Same.
spend that much time
Yeah,
beating the game.
I got things to do.
Well, also,
I feel like
I mean,
that's a uniquely adult problem, though.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
kids
Yes,
want
that's a
it to be
me thing.
longer.
Yeah.
And even more,
I understand people think that $60 they want to get the most out
Right.
of their $60.
Well, and
and
this is-
I understand that.
this is 35 to 40 hours of a reviewer reviewing the game, which means they're going home and they're plugging through this as
Exactly.
quickly as they can because they got to get they got a deadline.
right. I got to make a video about this on Tuesday.
Yeah,
I get it on Friday, and I got to finish it on Tuesday. Give me an 18-hour Pokemon game,
Yeah.
please.
yeah.
I'm gonna
so,
try to have a video over the weekend. That's gonna be a problem
yeah. So if you,
because I'm
if
in
you
Japan.
most of these people reporting on the times right now, these are jobs, these are deadlines we're trying to hit. So of course we're rushing through things. This game might take you at least, you know, an extra 10 to 20 on top of that if you're wanting to grind, if you're wanting to explore and make sure you're getting every secret. It all comes down to, if you don't want to support Game Freak, don't buy the game. It's fine. I've seen that a lot in the chat, and that's totally fine. If you are unhappy with this, your strongest way to send a message is, we're not paying for your game.
I completely agree. with that.
And
That's fair.
ultimately, that's at the end of the day, no matter what side we land on, if you want to support Game Freak, buy the game. If you don't, and that's fine. And I'm not going to judge you no matter what you want to do. If you think that the national dex removal is unforgivable, fair enough. Then don't buy the game.
The next few points on this,
Yes.
referring
Yeah.
to the graphics are extremely mediocre. There are constant graphical issues. Animations, one of the main reasons why Game Freak cut Pokemon, at least in the interviews, are shoddy. And cutscenes and restrictions, like previous Pokemon games, the cutscenes and story forcing restrictions are insane this time around.
we kind of touched on that stuff before.
Yeah.
We were talking about people's issues with the graphics.
Yeah, like you said, they're not graphical powerhouses, never were, probably never will be.
I mean, it still looks great. Like
yeah,
when
it
we played at
looks
E3, Will, I
fine.
thought that looked great.
Yeah.
But that was a vertical slice, you know.
I-
It could have
You're
just
not
been
putting that under a
prettified.
microscope.
Yeah.
You're not doing pixel measurements, Bob. You're not importing it into a video editor and zooming in and
I'm not.
enhancing.
I'm
Oh,
not game
God,
explaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, also the other thing, just briefly on like graphical issues and all that stuff. I feel like that problem happens more often than not. Having, you know, for day one releases come out and there's there's problems with animation, all that sort of stuff that is eventually patched.
Yeah.
Also, these people are running it off of emulated, illegally downloaded copies and stuff.
Yeah,
You
and-
do have to wonder how
factor,
much
too.
that affects how it
Yeah,
looks
that's a
and
factor,
everything.
too. Right.
I mean,
Well, there was-
nothing
there was-
emulates perfectly.
Yeah.
I think there's a story on here. Did I put it on here? No, I didn't. One guy was purposely trying to somebody was streaming it on Twitch early, and I guess they had a ROM'd version.
Wouldn't he get taken down for that?
He did. He streamed for like 5 hours.
Really?
And he was modding the game to purposely make it look bad. He took out some of the animations. He was modifying his items to have 999 of each.
That just sounds like
he was doing a lot to purposely
specifically against this game.
He was trying to break the game, and he was streaming with no commentary. He was just streaming the game. Yeah. So people who would click into that stream would be like, why are there no animations?
So they wouldn't have context as to what they're seeing.
Yeah, so people think that's what the game's going to look like, but really he was modding the game to take out animations.
How big was that stream? Did that get shared a lot, or?
I only saw it on, I think, Polygon. So, I mean, they promoted it, and it was still on Twitch. The archive was still on Twitch. The whole VOD was there.
Here's an interesting one. Problems with game design and behavior beyond difficulty and progression. There are other problems with the overall game design. Examples of this: not being able to catch Pokemon in wild areas until you got a badge. Meaning if you find a level 31 shiny or a level 31 Pokemon you really want, you won't be able to catch it until you go and beat the next gym.
Is that a thing in normal Pokemon?
No. So
that sounds weird.
I feel like that's a thing in normal RPGs though, where you can't beat a level 31 opponent if you're not level 31 yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So with how the wild area works, it's just everything's thrown into the wild area. So you can be on your first gym badge, but you run into a level 45. You can't catch the level 45.
But if you somehow level yourself up to 45 without getting the next gym badges, you still won't be able to get that Pokemon. So I feel like leveling would be the what Will was saying, how RPGs do that. Leveling is that barrier. There's not a lot left on this list.
No, I'll just plow through it. Remove past features.
Remove past features. What is GTS? It says no
the global
GTS.
Trade
Go to sleep.
system.
Yeah, it's CM Punk's move that he stole from Kenta.
Yep, and he's back.
Yeah, we'll save that for Wolf Den Wrestling.
Okay.
That's something that's a non-issue because Pokemon Home is what replaces that. So that's what that is.
A $20 price increase for less content. Blah blah blah. Get over it. Performance game is locked at 30. While this isn't a big issue itself, this is coupled with slowdown at certain moments, such as Dynamaxing.
Wait, are any Pokemon games 60 frames per second?
And then he says game-breaking bugs, and then he goes on to list examples.
I think frame rate and frame dips are a valid problem.
Right.
I think every frames per
again,
second.
you got stuff like that in Breath of the Wild.
But I feel like it's not so much a problem here because Pokemon is turn-based. If this was
that's a good point.
If this was a fast-paced action real-time game, then I can see the problem. But because you're selecting moves one at a time, back and forth, and the animation might slow down, but the gameplay itself isn't really all that affected by it.
I think frame dips could be an issue in the wild area.
I agree.
Yeah. The frame rate,
and they take you out of the game. Big frame dips are a problem. If it's stable 30 for a turn-based RPG, I think that's okay. But frame dips, that takes you out of the experience.
But again, it's not like you have control of the character, and then the frame dips, and you're like, "What's happening?" If that happened in something if that happened in something like Zelda, where your input matters, that would be bad. Or in a first-person shooter where you I'm trying to shoot and nothing's happening.
Right, but
again, it's turn-based.
I think specifically.
Oh wait.
I think specifically in battles, frame dips they don't really matter as much. I agree with what MDB is saying about it being a whole experience thing, but my thing that I would agree with it being an issue is in the wild area, because if you're trying to run into a Pokemon and your frames all mess up and then he's halfway across the screen and you're still where you're at, that could be a problem. But in battles, it's whatever.
Well, and here's the thing is I'll defend, frame rate dips being a problem during battle is that if it's during the Gigamaxing? Oh my god, how come I can't say
Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing.
Yeah. Sorry. Apparently I'm a gamer boomer, so
well no, it would make sense. Gigamaxing makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's the children who are wrong.
Yeah, but the thing is I'll defend frame dips being a problem there because it pulls you out of the spectacle that is that moment, right? That's supposed to be a big cinematic moment. You're trying to set a tone and a mood and everything. And
well, it's so big that it dips the frame rate.
Yeah, it dips the frame rate. So I mean, I could see that if during certain like special animations that are supposed to be setting the mood, if you're seeing frame rate dips there, then yeah, that's a problem. But it's also something that could be fixed in an upcoming patch.
Yeah.
So you'd hope that they would get on that as quickly as possible. But like, I mean, with the Switch version of Bloodstained that had major frame rate issues, that patch I think just finally came out like months after the game was released.
I don't really trust Nintendo with patches.
Yeah, I guess that's the other problem too, right?
Before we get too far away from it, I think Zelda fan 64 in the chat said, "Is there not going to be online trading?"
There's going to be online.
Yeah,
trading.
it's just not the GTS. It's going to be Pokemon Home.
Something.
Right.
Yeah,
GTS is garbage anyway. We need that replaced, repealed and replaced.
People are also very
could you
upset.
imagine if there was no online trading? Oh my god.
People are also very upset that we like glossed over the fact that it's $60 instead of $40. Every 3DS, I mean, every Switch game is $60. Every new Switch game, except for the other game Game Freak made this year. Don't forget they made another game this year.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And that game's only like 3 hours long.